and that I have
okay,
adequate
no, but that's not
staff
my question, because the
conduct
problem,
a tour
let me
and
tell you why we
oversight
need
at the
to,
same time.
reclaiming my time. The reason that I'm talking to you about this policy and you're talking to me about safety is because I did go into the Dilley detention facility. And let me tell you, they're not safe. This is why we need to conduct oversight, because your people continue. In fact, you have lost more lives in detention than anybody else. That is your record right now. So I don't expect that y'all are gonna be the ones that are gonna be best to keep them safe. This is why we are supposed to conduct oversight and not wait.
You just watched a sitting member of Congress tell the Secretary of Homeland Security to her face that her agency has killed more people in custody than any DHS head in recent memory. And she's right. This is Jasmine Crockett, Democrat from Texas, and Kristi Noem, who at the time of this hearing was still technically the Secretary of Homeland Security. I say at the time because hours after this hearing ended on March 5, 2026, President Trump fired her, making her the first cabinet secretary ousted in his second term. Here is the context you need to understand why this exchange landed the way it did. 2025 was the deadliest year for ICE detention in over 2 decades. 32 people died in custody. By the time Noem sat down in front of this committee, at least 11 more had already died in 2026. 53 total deaths across ICE and CBP on her watch. Meanwhile, Noem's DHS was blocking members of Congress from showing up unannounced to inspect those same facilities, which is a direct violation of federal law. Crockett had been to Dilley. She had seen it firsthand. And she came to this hearing with...
Are you aware that the law that was written by this Congress makes it clear that members of Congress are entitled to enter any detention?
Representative Crockett, I apologize. I have to run to vote in another committee, Secretary, and Mr. Schmidt will chair, and you will get extra 15 seconds, but I apologize for that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for your
Mr. Chairman.
testimony.
Appreciate it.
Are you aware that the law makes it clear that members of Congress are allowed to enter any detention facility at any point in time in which they choose to?
Yes, I'm aware of the visitation and oversight responsibility, and we work every day to try to accommodate members of Congress while taking into account the safety of those individuals that are being detained there.
Let me be clear. At any time, correct?
Yes, I understand there's litigation in this area.
No, that's not my question. I'm not asking you about litigation.
Yeah.
I'm asking you what the law is, because let me put it to you this way.
There's an appropriations rider that talks about
Correct,
oversight.
and appropriations are law, because you are asking us to
correct.
appropriate dollars right now for DHS, correct?
Correct.
And if we do that, you would take that as law, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that is what the law states, yet somehow, myself and another colleague, Congressman Castro, we ended up giving a 7-day notice to the Dilley detention facility because I had actually already gone to El Paso before. And when I went to that facility and I asked them why it was that they were requiring me to do something that specifically my branch of government had dictated was not required, they said it was because of you. They said you were the one that said that they were not allowed to allow us entry unless we gave a 7 days heads up. Is that true?
Yeah. The law specifically states oversight and visitations, and we are working to facilitate those, and we're at that.
Receipts. Let's be precise about what just happened. Crockett asked a simple yes or no question. Did you personally order a policy requiring Congress to give 7 days notice before entering a detention facility? The law says Congress does not need permission. That is written into the appropriations statute, the very legislation Noem is asking Congress to fund. Noem spent 90 seconds not answering that question. She talked about safety. She talked about accommodation. She never said no. A federal court later blocked that 7-day policy as illegal. The Project on Government Oversight called it exactly what it was. ICE barring Congress from detention facilities is illegal. Here is why this matters beyond the procedural argument. The reason oversight visits exist is precisely because facilities like Dilley are not safe. Crockett visited and witnessed conditions herself. Noem's solution.
Speaking of contracts, as I have actually, you know what, let me continue on this line of y'all breaking the law. Are you familiar with a child by the name of Liam Ramos?
I am.
All right, so Liam was at this Dilley facility, and it just so happened that we had put in our 7 days notice, and y'all had grabbed him 6 days prior to our visit. So we were able to go and visit Liam. Are you aware of the court order that came down that released Liam from custody?
I am.
And are you aware that the judge said the case has its genesis in an ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, apparently even if it requires traumatizing children? This court and others regularly send undocumented people to prison and orders them deported, but do so by proper legal procedures. Are you aware of that?
Yes, and I would disagree with the judge on several
I'm
points
sure you would,
in
but can
there.
you tell me whether or not
That
you have a
father-
law degree?
Father chose to
Can you
to
tell
have
me whether or
Liam
not you
be
have a
with
law
him.
degree?
If I have what?
A law degree.
No, I do not have a
Okay.
law degree.
Solution to dangerous conditions was to hide those conditions from the people constitutionally empowered to investigate them. That is not a bureaucratic mistake. That is a deliberate obstruction of accountability. A federal judge described the detention of Liam Ramos, a 5-year-old American child, as incompetently implemented pursuit of deportation quotas. He quoted the Declaration of Independence. He compared ICE's conduct to the grievances listed against King George. That is not hyperbole from an activist. That is the written opinion of a federal judge who reviewed the government's actions and concluded they violated the most foundational document in American law. Noem said she disagreed with the judge. She does not have a law degree, and the courts, repeatedly, have not agreed with her department. ICE's own medical payment system collapsed in October 2025. The agency stopped paying third-party medical providers, leaving detainees with chronic illnesses, including children and the elderly, without care. The El Paso County Medical Examiner
And you do understand, because I can go through a bunch of court cases and orders that I disagree with from the Supreme Court, that ultimately, that is the order of the court. That is what you follow, and if you have an issue, you appeal it up, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The court went on to say, apparent also is the government's ignorance of an American historical document called the Declaration of Independence. 33-year-old Thomas Jefferson enumerated grievances against a would-be authoritarian king over his nascent nation. Among others were, he has sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people. He has excited domestic insurrection among us, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. He has kept us among, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. Are you aware that he wrote that? Do you know that he was writing about ICE that falls under you?
The judge?
Yes.
Yes.
ruled one detainee's death a homicide, asphyxia from neck compression, while ICE told Congress it was a medical emergency. That lie is now on the record. This is not policy disagreement. This is a government agency that lied about killing someone in its custody and then tried to deport the witnesses before they could testify. A federal judge quoted the Declaration of Independence to describe what Kristi Noem's DHS was doing to people in its custody. A 5-year-old was detained to hit a deportation quota. 53 people died under her watch. She blocked the lawmakers legally empowered to inspect those facilities. She starred in a $220 million ad campaign funneled to a company run by her spokesperson's husband. She told Congress Trump approved it. Trump said he had no idea. And on March 5, 2026, the same day Jasmine Crockett sat across from her in that hearing room, Donald Trump fired her. Here is what you need to hold on to. Noem is gone, but the deaths are not. The detention facilities are still open. ICE is still holding 73,000 people nationwide, a historic record. Many have no criminal history. The medical payment system that collapsed on Noem's watch has not been fully restored. Camp East Montana, where one man was choked to death and 2 witnesses were nearly deported before they could speak, is still operating. Crockett did not just embarrass Noem in that room. She documented on the Congressional record a pattern of obstruction, negligence, and cover-up. The fact that Trump removed Noem does not mean the system she ran has been fixed. It means the face changed. The machine is still running. Know that. Watch what comes next. And if this video showed you something that the mainstream coverage missed, share it. Because accountability doesn't happen in a vacuum. Like, subscribe, and drop in the comments. What should congressional oversight focus on now that Noem is gone?